Hey guys, it's Eldon. Welcome back to another episode of Crazy Dad's Garage. We're working on the Crazy Dad Rat Rod today. And the next of my projects I've got to do here is get a gas pedal figured out. So we've had, this is the old original one that mounted in there, and it works nice and everything, but I just cannot figure out how to make it work the carburetor the way that I need it to. So we've come in here, I've got, let's see if we can get some light on the subject here. There we go. So I've got some mechanisms that I had hooked up earlier. So I have that metal linkage there, and it goes up and behind the carburetor over to the other side, which is where that original gas pedal comes out with a lever, but I can't tie them together and get them to work correctly. So I am going to do away with, let's see, this bracket right here, right there. I'm going to do away with that. I'm going to do away with the bar right here, the linkage bar. Under here, I've got to get back in there. You can barely, well, you can see that crossbar of the gas pedal linkage going across down there, and I've got to get that out of the way, and then I can start putting together some scrounge pieces that I've got here. So I've actually got two different gas pedal and linkage assemblies here, and I've got two different options on my pedal. And then they also had two different setups here on the cable for them. So both the cables are essentially the same length, very similar in style, except that this one has a built-in spring on it, which I think will be kind of slick for doing the return of the pedal. I think that'll work really good, and it looks a little clunky, but you still don't have to come up, or I have the springs for it, but I don't need to use them if I use this. So I think I'll do that. I'm not going to use this one, although that one did come with a bracket on it that will work very well. It had a rubber grommet pressed into that hole right there, but when I pulled that out, I can put that here like this, and the bolt holes line up, one second, like that, so that I can get a bolt put in there and tie those together. That will allow me to get tied to the carburetor mounting bolt right there, so I'll have that set up. This is a super simple deal. I just have to drill a hole through the firewall and two holes to bolt it in place. So I think that setup will work. I just tried putting this one in place, and it doesn't work well yet. I may come back to it, but so I'm going to try holding this one up and see if I can actually get it to have the movement that I need in there. It's a little clunkier deal, but you know what? If it's clunky and it works, it's better than slim and trim and not working. So I'm going to try that next, and we'll see where it comes to, and then I will be back. After I get that done, I'm going to get the old original gas pedal pulled out of it, and then we'll be back. And we will let you know what we're finding out here so that we can actually control the motor on this thing. Okay, so I'm test fitting things here. This setup here seems to work pretty well. I'm going to have to mount it right about there and kind of cock it to the side a little bit, and that will allow me to get the movement that I need and work where I need it to. So that's my strategy. Now, as I was putting that up there, I've got that triangular shaped plastic piece there, and then the pedal goes into it. I'm like, what is supposed to go over the face of this and hold the pedal in there? And I couldn't figure that out. And so I went digging back through the box of parts that I had this in, and realized that there was this big honking ugly bracket there that I didn't recognize before, and it has the right holes in it. I guess I've got this on there upside down like that. So I put those holes in there and come here and put this in. Now I've got that thing where it'll work. So I'm going to cut this bracket off here and reshape it so that it's just a cover that holds that in place. And then that will allow me to do what I need to there. And I may even turn it around so that it fits better on my firewall. But anyway, this whole setup here is going to work really good, I think, and be pretty simple to put in. So that's my next game plan. I'm going to cut that bracket off, clean it up, probably put a little bit of paint on a couple things, and then I'll drill some holes and get the pedal mounted, and then we'll drill some holes for the throttle bracket, or the throttle cable, and we should be in business. Alright, I'll be back. Oh, no, never mind. We have a gas pedal now. That went together fairly smooth. It took more time than I thought, but the nice thing was it really did pretty much bolt right in. I just had to drill holes and, you know, do some figuring and stuff. I did have to put a little arm right there to get it to clear down here at the base of the floor so that I could get my full travel out of it. But I had to do that. You can see I had to drill some holes right there to get the cable coming through. So we did that. So it all worked out good. Got some copper paint on my pedal and cleaned everything up real good. And up here at the carburetor, we're able to get our mounting bracket put into place. Had to do a little modification to it. This bolted right to it there. And then I had to drill out the old pivot point where it attached before, because it was a straight one and needed a ball on it. So I drilled that out, put the new piece in there with the washer on it, and click this on with some grease in it, and voila, we are all set to go with our throttle. So that's, again, another big step forward, something we've been trying to get out of the way for quite a while now, and really glad we finally got it done. So we'll see what else we're going to do here. Oh yeah, so I don't have a heater in this thing yet. Don't know if I'm going to put one in it yet. So I had the heater hoses would have come off here and gone back to the and that one down there, and gone back to the firewall through there to the heater inside. But I needed to just either plug these or loop them together, and I didn't know if I had the plugs for it, but I did have hose, and there's no significant water flow through here, so yeah, I know this is kinked a little bit, but it doesn't need to flow anything. And this, you might look at that and go, that's a dumb thing to do. Well, it would be, except I put a metal sleeve inside of this hose so that this clamp actually has something to clamp down and squeeze to, instead of just squeezing rubber to rubber. So anyway, could I have done something better there? Yeah, but I had this, so it didn't cost me any money. And that's part of what we're doing here on the rat rod build. So those are the things I've got done right at the moment. I'm going to look at my list and see what I'm going to do next, and we'll let you know on that. Right, I'm going to throw a few other little projects in on this video. So this is one of the things I've been wanting to check on. I took this out of a 48 Chevy 2-ton truck, and it's the fuel tank, obviously. And there were some places that had been patched, and it looked like it might have been leaking somewhere, so I decided to take it out and pressure test it. First, I dumped a whole bunch of crud out of it on the ground, but really there wasn't as much as I thought. And there was still some gas in it that wasn't horrible, so I think I'll be all right there. But what I did was I took my air nozzle and blew into the fuel line here on the tank, and being careful, I don't want to put more than 20 or 30 pounds of pressure on it at most. And so I blew in there a little bit and held my thumb over it while I took a cloth full of soapy water and dribbled it all over the potential leak spots, such as this right here, which is a place I was worried about. And I didn't get any air bubbles anywhere, except for this sending unit right here. And I'm going to take it out and probably put a new gasket in there anyway, because I need to clean it up and make sure it works correctly. I'm hoping I don't have to buy another one for it. But anyway, I'm going to take that sending unit out next and take a look at it, test it, and see if it's working or not. And I'll show you that on the video once I get it out here. Okay, she's out of there. Take a look here, and you'll see that rubber gasket was an old one, really rotten, so that's why it was leaking around there. And this mechanism on this thing's really interesting. So it's got this, so this is the arm that the float's supposed to go on, which it's missing the float, by the way. So that's the first problem. But it's an arm that's geared to, from here to here, and it turns this vertical shaft, which goes up inside of here, where I'm sure there is I believe it's called a rheostat, which is a coil of wire with a thing that runs along it and makes your variance in your readings. And so here's what's happening though. See, we're getting, if you see the readings there, starts out there and you get varying readings as you're going down through there. And that's what we need to be happening. So I suspect that just with a little bit of cleaning up, we're going to be okay if I can replace that float. So I've got to figure that part out and go from there. But we may be in business here. Let's not have to buy another sending unit, which I would really like to not do because they're expensive for this thing. So there you go. We'll be cleaning it up now and double checking everything, make sure that it's working. So hey, just for fun, you guys want to see how one of these fuel tank sending units works, at least an ancient one. This one quit working while I was cleaning it up, so I thought, well, I got nothing to lose, let's take it apart and see what's going on here. So there were 3 rivets holding the 2 pieces of the case together, and I went on the inside of the bottom of it there and ground those off flush there, and then just took a little punch and drove them out, and that allowed me to get inside. And what we've got here, so your wire connects to that terminal. Come on and focus here. Connects to that terminal right there, and then inside what we're seeing there, I wish I could get it to focus good. That metal looking band right there, let me see if I can sit this down because that's really an important thing. Yeah, there you go. That metal looking band is actually a flattened coil of little tiny wire that runs from the left side of the picture around and up to the top of the picture there. And what happens is your ground wire attaches out here, and you're trying to make a ground through there, and this coil is actually grounded clear up in the end there where it finally goes to ground. So what you're getting as your other contact makes contact with that thing, depends on where it is, a coiled wire gives more and more resistance. So actually over here would be 0 resistance. As it comes around, there's more and more windings of that wire until it gets over here where it's nearly full resistance. And so that's what you got going on inside of one. There's a little contact point there, that brass point. Right there, and it's on a flexible spring that holds it out against that coil in there, and as it rotates around, it contacts it at different places, and that's what will change your reading as you're going around. So that's actually how they work. And you know what, this one was just had a lot of corrosion in it, and I've cleaned up all the corrosion, cleaned that contact point, and putting it back together, and I'll bet you that it's going to work out just fine here. So I'll finish getting this put back together, and then I'll let you know if I'm actually getting good readings off of it. So I'll be back. Well, there it is, and all back together now, letting the gasket cement dry that I put on the gasket here, while I go try to figure out what I'm going to do for a float on the thing. And interestingly enough, if we absolutely had to, they used to make the floats for these things out of cork. So we could do that. But I'm going to see if I've got any other options, things that make sense. And then we'll go clean up that gas tank a little bit more, get myself a new rubber gasket made for the top of it, and we should be back in business. So that'll be fun. Finish up this part of the project. Okay, got it back in now. I discovered a couple of things here. First of all, that float. Sounds like there's really not a good way to make a replacement. I was thinking cork, but everything I read online says that the new types of gasoline are eating cork floats, and they have to be replaced every year or two. And I don't want to do that. This one's not hard to get to, but I did a search online for a 1960 fuel sending unit float, and came up with a ton of them. They're available all over the place, both brass ones and plastic ones, and I can actually get one for about $10. So that will probably be my approach here, is to get one ordered and get it in here. And it's obviously easy to get to. So anyway, I've got it back in place there and hooked back up and ready to go. The other thing I discovered as I was putting that together, I realized that that sending unit grounds to the tank. And I have my tank sitting on some wood stringers in here, and it's not touching any metal, so I did add a ground wire here. Went over to a convenient spot over there and hooked it up. So that'll help that. I really think the thing's going to work just fine once I get that float put in it. So anyway, that was a worthwhile project for me. I poured some gasoline in the tank and sloshed it around, dumped it out, and got 99% of the crud out of it. So I think we're really ready to go. My fuel filter will catch the rest of it, and I'll just change fuel filters down the road a little bit once I run quite a bit of fuel through it, and I think we'll be fine. So anyway, that project wrapped up, I think, everything that I'm going to do on this video right here. Just some of the little nitpicky pieces that have to be done to get the thing put back together. So there you have it. We're actually getting quite close to being on the road with this thing. It's really cool. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go for fixing my steering, getting this rack and pinion unit in. So I've done some measurements, and it looks like it's going to fit perfect. So I'll be working on that one next. I've got to pull my radiator out and patch a couple holes in it, and then I'll get my radiator hoses hooked up, and we'll actually be getting really close at that point. So those are kind of some of the things that I'm going to be working on here on the Crazy Dad Rat Rod at Crazy Dad's Garage. If you guys are enjoying following along, sure appreciate it. If you'd like the videos, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment if you want to, and share it with your friends. Our goal is to get out there and get exposed to a lot of people, and we sure appreciate everybody that's enjoying watching so far. So have an awesome day. We will talk to you again at Crazy Dad's Garage.